Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Good morning and welcome to the LawLytics Basic Training Webinar. My name is Dan Jaffe. I'm an attorney and I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of LawLytics. The purpose of today's webinar is to get you, presumably all new LawLytics members with recently launched sites, off to a great start. And we're going to go through the majority of the features of the LawLytics platform in fairly rapid succession to give you a general overview of where things are, how to get things done, and so forth. Before we actually get there, though, I want to take a few minutes and talk about your LawLytics membership and how to make the most of it. The power of online content marketing and publishing combined with LawLytics is something that really needs to be harnessed through the effort of creating content. Content meaning pages on your website, blog posts, and to a lesser extent, interactions outside of your website, such as social media, interaction with reputation management situations, such as reviews on Avvo and Yelp and so forth. Today, we're going to be focusing on what it takes to publish content to your LawLytics powered website. Some of you are basic LawLytics subscribers, meaning that you have a website with us and that you have unlimited access to our support and guidance, but you are responsible for creating your own content. Others of you have engaged us to create content for you through either an ongoing blogging basis or through one of our starter content packages or through extensive build out. Depending on how hands-on or how hands-off you are going to be with your LawLytics presence, you may pay more attention to some of the features than others. For example, even if you're not going to be writing any of your own content and having us handle all of that for you, it's still important to understand how to access and edit things, but then also how to view your statistics, how to track leads and engage with them and so forth using LawLytics. And so with that as a jumping off point, let's talk about logging into your LawLytics control panel. The easiest way to initially log in to your LawLytics control panel is to go to the LawLytics site and to click on this login button at the top. Now you'll need to be on a laptop or a desktop to do this, and you'll click this member login button. It'll take you to this page where you'll enter your email address and the password that you selected, and if you ever forget your password, you can use this forgot your password login link and it will send you a new one. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and now we're at the LawLytics control panel. So if you had gone through the login process, this is what you would see, of course, with your own name and picture there. And this is what we refer to as the LawLytics dashboard. From here, you can access all of LawLytics features. We're going to go ahead and start with a brief overview of the menu over here, because this is how you control your account. The first thing that we want you to know is that we never want you to struggle with anything. And there is a bit of a learning curve when you're first starting to use LawLytics to publish. And so whenever you run into a situation that you don't understand, you can always feel free to seek support from us. Support comes in several forms. You can always just send an email to support@lawlytics.com, and that will go right into our support system. You can also go to this help button, which will open our knowledge base. And from the knowledge base, you can search for answers, you can browse our various topics, and you can also press this Get Help Now button and send us a support ticket through here. This has the exact same effect as sending an email to support@lawlytics.com. Finally, you can call us at any time at 1-800-713-0161, and we're here from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, Arizona time. We do have an after-hours service if you have an emergency. If your questions are more like, how do I format this? How do I arrange that? Those are more during the business day type questions. But oftentimes, if you submit a support ticket, even after hours, we'll get to it and we'll give you an answer within hours, if not within minutes. And so the bottom line is, when you're trying to figure something out, if you spend more than a few minutes wondering about it, looking at our knowledge base and whatnot, just give us a call or shoot us a support ticket. We really want to make this easy on you. From this menu, you can do a number of things. You can edit your own profile, which if you're the account owner, and this all you'll see throughout this account that there's just demo filler text in there. But you can edit your information, you can change your password, you can enter your firm details, check on billing, including updating your credit card, and see your history of invoices. From the My Social Media Accounts area, you can associate Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn accounts. And by doing this, you'll be able to announce those posts automatically when you do blog posts. Rather, you'll be able to announce those posts automatically to these social media outlets. In order to connect each of these to LawLytics, you'll need to be logged into those accounts already in the browser that you're browsing to LawLytics from. In this area here, users and access, you'll find the ability to add new users, whether they're attorney users or non-attorney users, and control the access levels that they have. Your LawLytics account comes with an unlimited number of users. And so if you have a paralegal, law clerk, receptionist, summer clerk, everybody should get their own login. And the reason is that it's easy to track what people have done within your web presence if they have their own login. But if you give out your login information to other people, then it can get confusing as to who did what, when, and where. To create a new user, and this is how you do pretty much anything new in LawLytics, you press this green new button and you simply type in their information. It's important that you give them an email address that's unique because the LawLytics system will send them an email asking them to finish their registration under your account, which will include choosing a password. If they are an attorney and you want them to have access, or you want them to have a face and a voice both on your website publicly and on the LawLytics network, this defaults to check. If they're a staff member that's not an attorney, uncheck it. And then from here, you can control what access level each person has. You can also, if you'd like, designate them as a ghostwriter. So for example, I'm adding this new user, and if I add it to this attorney's profile here in our fictional account, it will then allow this new user to write in the name of this attorney. Whether or not this box here is checked will determine whether the attorney that the ghostwriting is happening for must approve the post before it is actually taken live on the website. You can add as many users as you want, and you'll notice that throughout the LawLytics control panel, various areas on our side tray have a search option. Here you can search by name. In other areas you can search by much more detailed criteria. And then finally here you can use this to log out of your LawLytics account. Now, if you are using LawLytics on a private computer and a private network, there's no need for you to log out when you're done with your session. It will remain secure. If, on the other hand, you're either at a public network or on a shared computer, make sure you log out after each session. Let's head back to the control panel. And you can always get back to the main control panel page by clicking on the LawLytics logo. You'll notice that there are several things on this control panel in the middle. One is your inbox. Now, if you have new leads that have come in through a LawLytics form, or if there are new things such as blog comments or recommendations to approve, you'll see an indicator here. You'll also notice that there's a mail center here, and you'll see that there's 3 forms submitted. This is your indicator that you have something if something doesn't appear here. You can also access our resources, our tutorials, and so forth through this area, or press here to go to our support desk. I want to give you a quick tour of the main LawLytics menu, because this is really where you can drill down to all of our features. The Publish menu is where you ought to spend most of your time once you're familiar with the LawLytics system. The Publish menu is where you find most everything that pushes information from the LawLytics control panel to your website or websites if you have more than one website hosted in your LawLytics account. We'll get to all of these in turn in a moment. The leads area is where your form submissions are tracked. So you have a form on your website. If that form is filled out, it will end up in this form submissions area. And then you'll have the ability to designate whether it's an active lead, whether it's a one lead, a lost lead, if it's a lead at all. You'll also have the ability to do something which is called send capture templates. Capture templates are largely beyond the scope of this initial training. It's an advanced technique to not only capture clients when they've called your office, but to understand what activity they took on your website or websites hosted with LawLytics. The libraries area is where you'll control your images and videos, forms, links, and disclaimers. The reports is where you'll see how your website is doing in terms of traffic. If you use this lead analysis sequence, as you get data in there, you'll be able to see what influenced your clients and potential clients to either become actual clients or not, as the case may be. And then the LawLytics network, which is also largely beyond the scope of this initial training, is a place where you can connect with fellow attorneys who also use LawLytics and leverage the collective power of cross-marketing, especially with non-competing firms. That's going to be the subject of another webinar coming up soon, and so we'll give you a quick tour of the network here, but we'll leave most of that for later. Let's jump in with the libraries to start out with. The libraries are, just as they sound, repositories of various information about your firm and that you want to share on the web. The images and video area is very simple. It contains all of the images, videos, and also documents which go in the other area. So for example, if you have a PDF document that you would like to share with visitors to your website, you can drag it in here as well. If you have videos or audio files, LawLytics will automatically encode those and make sure that they're mobile compatible and make them easily embeddable in your website. And you also have some special abilities within here in regards to pictures. So let's take a look at this picture, for example. You can actually crop images from within LawLytics. So let's say this picture is not the right fit, and you'd really rather just have a picture of her face, maybe for her bio. You can use this crop image button, zoom in on her face, drag this around as you like, and once you have the dimensions that you prefer, you can apply the crop. Now, LawLytics is going to always warn you whether or give you the choice whether to apply the crop to the original or save the crop as a copy. When in doubt, we always recommend that you save the crop as a copy. This is because if you apply the crop to the original, if this image is embedded anywhere else in your website, it will change it everywhere. And whether you have one LawLytics website or whether you have 20 and this image exists in all of those places, pressing this will apply it everywhere. And so we're not going to go ahead and do either of these right now. We'll just cancel out of this for this demo. You can also search your files, and you'll be able to access these to embed in your various pages, and we'll show you how that goes. Your forms library is simply the place where you can create contact forms on your website. Let's take a quick look at a sample website that we're using for this demonstration. Here's a very simple contact form, and likely your website has a very simple form like this to start out with as well, unless either you've already gotten in there or we've done some custom work based on form specs that you've given to us. You can make these forms on the sidebar or anywhere else anything that you want them to be. So for example, let's say you want to create an intake form that talks about walking a new client either through a personal injury intake questionnaire or say a criminal defense one, and you want it to be very in-depth. Press new to create the new form, give it a title. The intro text will be prepended to the form, meaning that it will go here, and this will be the case whether it's a full width form or whether it's on the sidebar. And then you'll notice that there are 4 default fields. These come with every form. By clicking the Add Form Field link there, you can add as many additional fields as you want, make them whatever kind of field you want. So for example, if it's a drop-down menu, you'll have the option to add numerous choices. And then once you have all of your fields that you want in place, you can drag and drop reorder them. That will determine how they're appearing on your website. And you can also choose whether they should be required of a user. So in other words, the user cannot submit the form without checking this, or not required. Be sure at the bottom of each form to check at least one attorney, if not more. Checking the attorneys here, or other users, all of your users will appear down here, designates who in your firm will receive an email when this form is filled out live on your website. The links area is a place to create groups of links that can be embedded anywhere in your website. The details of this are a little bit complicated, but what happens is when you create a link group, it will create the option to have the links displayed in groups like this. This is called our resources page, and every website has the ability to display a page like this. And let's say you created a group of links about, say, local courts. You can have that group, and you can name it whatever you want. So let's just say we'll rename this local courts. And then let's go ahead and add, we'll go ahead and update this link group, and then we'll add one more link to it, and we'll say Court 3, just for lack of creativity, and I'm just going to give it a link to the LawLytics website because we need to give it a link to something. And then we'll go ahead and update this link group. Now, what you'll notice when we refresh this is that not only has the name of the link group changed, but this new link has appeared as well. The links within the individual link group can be reordered as often as you want, and once we update that and refresh this, you'll see that Court 3 will now appear at the top. And these link groups can also be embedded anywhere else within your web presence that you'd like. Moving and to create a new link group, all you do is press this new button, and then you'll add additional links within each link group here. If you want to if you want to reorder the link group, so let's say here on your resources page, you want the sample link group 1 to appear above local courts. Well, and this is the way that this works with most things in LawLytics. You just grab this, drag it up, now it's on top, and then when you refresh this, you'll notice that the sample link group 1 is on top. You can control by this publish links to area here which site or sites it's published to. If you only have one, and this goes to the resource page only. So let's say we want to remove this local courts group from this page, we would simply uncheck the sample demo so it's no longer published there. And once we refresh this, you'll notice that it's gone. Moving on to the disclaimers. The disclaimers area is a place for you to update your disclaimers that appear on your website and also add a universal disclaimer. Let's take a look at how that looks on our sample site. So we're going to go back to our home page. At the bottom of the site, and you'll notice at the bottom of your site, there are 3 links: terms of use, privacy policy, and anti-spam policy. These things are put in there automatically by the LawLytics system, and we've put in there what we determine to be the bare bones policy that you might want to display. Within the control panel in the disclaimers area, you can amend this to say whatever you'd like it to say. Also, you'll notice that there is a universal disclaimer. The universal disclaimer is meant to be a disclaimer that goes on every page. So, for example, if we were to fill something in here, as an example, previous case results don't guarantee future performance, or in some states, this is an attorney advertisement, or reading this information on this website does not constitute the formation of an attorney-client relationship, or whatever other information you want to put in there. When you enter it in there and then update it, it will appear at the bottom of your LawLytics powered website. Let's move on to the Publish menu now. And this is where most everything on your website is going to happen. Let's take a look at the Sites menu. When you go to the Sites menu on your LawLytics control panel, you may notice one website, or you may notice many websites. Some of our customers have one website, some of our customers have 10 or more websites, and you'll just notice the exact amount that you have. When you hover over your website, we're going to be looking at this sampledemo.com exclusively during this training session. If you click this eye icon, you're going to see in a new tab a version of your site as it appears on the internet. This is especially useful during the setup process before your site is launched, but can be used at any time to preview exactly how your site will look. When you click anywhere in this tile, you'll get to the main control panel of your website. What I want you to notice first is that the pages of your website are nested vertically on the side, and you'll notice that some pages are indented and some pages are not. The ones that are not indented are the ones that are called parent pages. So for example, this home page would be a parent page if there were pages underneath it, but because there are no pages underneath it right now, there's no minus button. You can press that to retract it, press the plus button to expand it, and you'll see that these children items are nested under it. The menu here vertically corresponds exactly to the horizontal menu in your website in most cases. There are a few website layouts that we have where the home and contact us buttons are placed elsewhere, but other than that, the order that they appear in here vertically will be the order that they appear in horizontally here. And so you'll notice that as we hover over this About Our Firm menu, we see all of these submenu items under there. Now, let's say that we want to reorder the menu items. So right now we have attorneys, locations, case results, and recommendations. Well, let's say that we make the determination that our case results and our recommendations are much more important than our location. What we can do is go into the control panel, grab the locations page, and just simply drag it down to below recommendations. Then when we go to this page and we refresh it, and we hover over the menu, you'll see that the locations page now is in the exact menu order that we dragged it into, second to last. I want to take a look at some various types of pages within the LawLytics system. When you go to any of your LawLytics sites, the first page that you will always see is the home page. And the home page looks a little bit different from other pages because you have the option of displaying the home page slider. Now, depending on what your version of the LawLytics layout is, you may or may not have a slideshow such as this. Some of our more recent designs don't have that in favor of having a parallax view where things scroll on top of each other. But depending on which layout you have, if you need to edit your slider, you would simply go to the custom slides area and you would click on this button, and that's going to bring up your slide control. And you'll notice that in this slide there's a Let's Talk button. The Let's Talk button is the link text, and you can link that to whatever you want to link it to. You can also change the images. You can drag and drop reorder the slides, so you change the order in which they appear, and you can add slides. When you change images in your slides, if you have a slider such as this one, be very careful to make sure that the images are the same height and the same width. If they are not, you'll have a what we like to refer to as cameling effect, where it goes up and down as you scroll or your visitors scroll through the various pictures. So be careful with that. If you run into any problem with image sizing, submit a support ticket or give us a call and we will help you make sure that your images are sized correctly. Next, you'll see this blank area called a shout out. Depending on what template you're on, you may or may not have a shout out. Shout out is typically something that will appear down in this area. Experiment with it on your site. You may notice that it's already filled in, you may not, but that's what that controls. And then you'll see the text area. And the text area is the main body of your homepage, just like it will be the main body of all of your pages. You'll see here that there are some variations in formatting. So the variations in formatting, this is a header, for example, are controlled in here, and you control the headings by clicking on here. By clicking and expanding here, we see that this is a secondary header. We know this because of this little gray bar that's off to the side. If we wanted to make it a third level header, since it's highlighted, we would simply click that and it would change. Headers are very useful things to use in your website, both for giving your readers guidance as to what the page and the topics are about, and they're also good for search engine optimization. The proper use of titles and nesting of them is beyond the scope of this basic training, but please be sure to catch one of our How to Write for the Web webinars or check out the articles on our blog and the LawLytics University for additional guidance on how to maximize that. You'll notice that you have a content editor that's very much like a word processor, and it works very much the same way. And we're not going to go through all of these buttons because these are familiar to most people. We are going to take a look at the buttons from here over, however. The first one is the link button. If you want to link from one page to another, simply highlight whatever you'd like to link and press the link button. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you an option to link to something outside of your LawLytics presence. If you'd rather link to something within your LawLytics presence, for example, say you're writing a blog post and it's about a certain crime for which you represent people, and you have a substantive page about that in your page tree and you want to link back to it, you click on My Sites, and here you click whichever site you have. If you only have one site, it will automatically default to that, and then you simply select the page that you want to link to and you press Insert, and then you've got a link in there. If you want to insert an image anywhere in your website, you simply go to the place that you'd like to insert it. You press the image button. This is going to bring up your media library, which you can scroll through. You can also search it. So let's say we wanted to search for something that starts with L. We start typing. It will bring up just the results as we narrow it down. Let's say we wanted to make it firm So it'll narrow it down, and then we can narrow it all the way down to firm 2 if we know exactly what it is. We press the insert button. It will give us some options on how big we want it to be, where we want it to be positioned, whether we want to put a caption in, and so forth. And so experiment with that. If you have questions about that, let us know. Inserting videos works the same way. If you press this video button here, you'll either, if you have videos already in your media library, they will appear there. You can upload them, or you can embed them from YouTube very easily as well. The first couple times you go to embed a video in your website, let us know, and we'll be happy to walk you through it and make sure that everything is optimized. Then we have this button here called your widget button. When you click on that, you're going to notice that it defaults to insert widget. A widget is basically a catch-all phrase for a bunch of different content items that can be inserted into your website. It defaults right now to blog posts. And what this would do if we inserted it is if we checked an attorney and we put it into this page, it would insert blog posts by that attorney, the 3 most recent ones, directly into the page. Now, your attorney bio does that automatically with your most recent blog post, but there may be a reason why you'd want to put that somewhere else as well. Recommendations, same thing. Case results, same thing as well. Displays the top 3 case results that you've got in there associated with whatever attorneys you click. Attorney profiles, you can display little blurbs about the attorneys. Link groups will display any link group that you want simply by clicking it. Freeform widget is the ability to basically put any text or HTML into your website. Let's say you have a badge that you want to display. Let's say it's a super lawyer badge or an AVO badge, or let's say you have an inline chat icon that you want somebody to be able to click on to open up a chat window from a third-party chat provider. The freeform widget is a great place to insert those because it will accept any of your HTML code and JavaScript code as well. So if you have, for example, instructions to embed a badge from AVO, you would simply copy what AVO tells you to, paste it in here, and then it can be pasted, and then it can be inserted directly into your website by clicking the Insert button. Finally, you have a map widget, and there's a couple different ways to get to the map widget. We're going to skip out of this for a moment and take a look at the navigation bar. If we go to the navigation bar, this is actually a map insertion icon, and it pulls up the exact same thing, and we do that for a reason. We want you to understand how important inserting maps is, especially for local marketing. So let's say that you have a range of courts throughout, say, a 3-county area that you practice in. Well, from the LawLytics method, it makes sense to go in and create not only a page for each of those courts describing the court, the system, and what it is that you do there for your clients, but also to embed a map. And maps can easily be embedded by simply typing in the address and then inserting it. Typically speaking, we recommend inserting it inline, which is the default, but you can have a smaller map floating either to the left or to the right of your content as well. And these are Google Maps that get embedded. They're interactive automatically. And then finally, you've got the form insert, which also can be reached through the widget insert button. And what this does is it shows all of the forms that you have in that forms library that I showed you earlier. In order to insert the form in your individual page, you would simply click on the form, and then you would insert it, and it's going to put it into the page. And I'm not going to save it with this, but what will happen is that form will now be, if we were to save this, it would now appear down below on the home page of this website. We'll go ahead and delete this and take a look at some other stuff. Now, let's say you want to create a brand new page. And let's say it's a page that involves an intake form. Let's go ahead and press the New Page button. And I want you to notice a couple things about this form right from the start. You will see a parent page drop-down menu. You will only see this the first time you ever create a page. Once you create the page, this is no longer there because you can drag and drop reorder your pages using simple drag and drop methods on the side. But when you start out with a brand new page, if you don't select a parent page that you want it nested under, the page will automatically get placed at the end of your content tree, which can be a problem if you've already maxed out your menu, because it could push the menu off to the side, it could cause it to break, or it could cause the menu to have to scroll. And so let's go ahead and create a page, and let's go ahead and nest it under practice areas. So we're going to go ahead and say practice areas, and let's just call this new client details. The title that we give this page is going to be the title that appears at the top of the publish page, and the shorter title for the links will be what appears in the menu. Let's take a look at the difference by first publishing this, and I'm just going to say coming soon, so we have some text in there. We'll go ahead and publish this. We see that it's saved successfully. And now let's go and refresh our website, and we'll look under practice areas, and we'll see new client details. When we go to the page, we'll also see that the title of the page is new client details. Well, maybe new client details is not what we want in here, or maybe this is much longer. Maybe it talks about, the medical legal implications of marijuana consumption in Colorado or something like that. So it's going to be relatively long, would not look good in a menu. If you want to change that, let's just say we want to call this details in the menu. You go here and you type in your shorter title for the link. You save it, and then when we refresh it, you'll see that the title of the page remains the same, but under the menu, now it just says details. Let's take a look at this page in terms of inserting things. Let's say we wanted to make this a client questionnaire, and we didn't want the sidebar to be there. We can simply uncheck the enable sidebar, and then when this page is published again, we will go ahead and refresh this. You'll see that the page that the sidebar has been removed. Now let's say we want to insert something. So let's say we can go ahead and insert a map, and we'll just quickly type in the LawLytics address. Don't even need to type in a zip code because it knows Arizona. And then when we're going to publish this, and we'll see when we refresh this that the menu stretches all the way across. This would work for a form, and I recommend doing this for form pages where you really want to focus clients. So for example, somebody's already a client, or they're a potential client that's already made an appointment with your office. You have a detailed questionnaire that you've created with LawLytics. It's great to not have that sidebar there so it doesn't distract them. You'll notice at the bottom of most pages that there's an advanced SEO area. You can add a title tag and a meta description. If you don't know what these things are already, chances are that you can safely ignore them. LawLytics will automatically fill in the title tag, which is simply the title that is recommended to Google and other search engines to display in the results that they serve to search queries. And the meta description is largely not used anymore anyways. It's basically just a suggestion of what Google ought to display below your search result when it comes up. However, Google will typically take whatever it feels is most relevant from the content of your page and insert that instead. So If you know what you're doing on this, it may be worth the effort to mess around with it. But if you don't know what you're doing on this, you've got much bigger fish to fry to start out with. Writing the content and just really communicating with your clients through posting messages that they want to absorb is 99.5% of the battle. The other 0.5%, somewhere within that, this is buried. With the robots, you don't need to look at that at all. You may notice that this is checked on your website. Don't uncheck it if it is. If it is, we did it for a reason, and that reason is to prevent older listings that might be archived about your website that might not even have anything to do with your firm from being displayed. The redirects area also is something that if you don't know what it is and you're not sure how to use it, there's probably not a good use case for you to use it. But if you do see this filled in with anything, if we've imported your site, same with custom path, it makes sense not to touch it. Touching it can actually cause a page to be routed incorrectly. And so chances are you're not going to see this, but if you do and something's there, just let it alone. Now, I want to show you several different types of pages, and then we'll quickly get into how these pages work. You've got your attorney's page, and you'll notice that this attorney's page is blank. Same with case results, there's just a little bit filled in, and recommendations. These correspond to the attorney's page on your website, the case results page, and the recommendations page. They can be called other things. So for example, recommendations can be called, reviews or endorsements. Case results could be called representative cases and so forth. The idea with these, though, is with your recommendations, you'll see this box here. This means that your recommendations are actually inputted somewhere else, and anything you put in this page content simply gets appended above your list of recommendations. So let's take a look at this from the attorney's page first. So if we look at this, you'll see there's nothing there. We go to the attorney's page here, and you'll see there's nothing there. If we put something in here, let's say this is an intro, ... just for example purposes, and then we refresh this, you'll see that this intro text appears. So you can do whatever you like with that, and then within these individual attorneys, you can drill down and actually see the attorney bios. So, and this is one, my name, not my picture, but without any information in it at this point. So to edit the attorney bios, you go to attorney profiles. And you can simply, you can edit them, you can designate what sites they appear on, you can give them practice areas, you can change the picture and so forth. You can play around with that and determine what information you like to display on your site. If you have multiple websites, designate which sites or site or sites you want it to display on. Same with which offices you want that attorney to be associated with. Say you wanted this attorney to be the attorney in the top position here. So right now she's at the bottom, so you wanted her to be up there. Simply drag and drop her up to that position, and then when the page, this sometimes takes a couple minutes for it to catch up, but when it's refreshed, there she is up there. Now, it's very important just to remember that when you edit attorneys, it's there. When you want to add case results, you go here. So let's take a look at the case results page. And very similar situation. We've got some example case results. You can drag and drop, reorder them. You can change the information, what practice areas they're about, whether there was a court, which attorney is responsible for them, and so forth, and which sites they're displayed on. And you can also determine the order that they're displayed in. If you add a picture, the picture will appear on the side here in the individual case results area. And when you click on the individual case result, then you'll be able to scroll through your individual case results. And so as you can see here, you can put maps, you can basically put anything you'd like within the individual case result. Next, recommendations. Works exactly the same way in terms of adding new stuff with a little bit of a twist. So your recommendations don't give you the ability to display a whole lot of details. You can't put maps in there. It's basically just meant for text that somebody else supplied you. If a client gives you a recommendation, you simply enter it by pressing new, filling in this information, saying which site you want it published to. The details are your chance to tell the story of the result. So if the result is something amorphous like, thanks for your help, Attorney Jones, I really appreciate it, you did a great job. Well, that doesn't give your potential clients any useful, actionable information about what you did to help this person and how that might be relevant to how you might be able to help them. And so this area allows you to fill in information such as that. And then if you don't have a recommendation already, and instead you want to go to the outgoing requests area, you'll see that because we don't have any outgoing requests pending, it defaults to new, but it's the same thing as pressing this new button. You can put in a former client's name, their email address, designate whichever site you'd like them to be taken to, and they'll be taken to a unique page for them that gets built specially for them on that LawLytics site. Type in a subject for the email, and then you can replace or use our suggested text. They will get an email from you with a link to go and endorse you. And once that recommendation comes through, it will then appear in this received area as pending, and you'll get a chance to either approve it or send it back to them for revisions if you don't want to display it on your website as is. Finally, offices. You can add new offices, and what'll happen here is if you have only one office location, when you click on location or locations, you'll see that individual office. If you have two or more, they will display down here in the order that they're stacked in the LawLytics control panel, and there will be map pins to those locations. And when you click on the maps, it will show the information about those locations as well. Now, if you want to add an additional office location, you can do so by simply clicking New, type in the name of the office, type in the address and all the other information. If you want to give it office hours, you can. You can also describe the office however you'd like, and you can associate attorneys with the offices. Let's take a look at how this looks. So let's drill down to the Palo Alto office here, and we'll see that there are four attorneys associated with it. If we were to say go to the Palo Alto office and say, okay, Dan Jaffe no longer is in the Palo Alto office, still at the firm, maybe in other offices, but let's go ahead and unclick that. We'll update the office, and then we'll refresh this. Once we do, we'll see that particular attorney is no longer associated with that office. So very important when you're going through your site, when you see this area up here in gray and a link, this is where you enter the individual information. This is where you append any information to the page that has the index of all that information. The other thing that we want to look at fairly closely and operates in exactly the same way is the blog. So you've got a blog built into your LawLytics website, and we really hope that you'll use it often. It's a very, very, very powerful tool to not only get your flow of clients and cases going, but also to establish yourself as a thought leader, to attract media attention, to have other lawyers who are going to be referral sources notice you and think of you when they have cases to refer of your practice area in your jurisdiction. So these are just sample blog posts. This is how it looks. You'll see there's a menu or a calendar. When there's blog posts on a certain date, that calendar will light up as it's scrolled to. We won't spend time trying to get there at this point, though. If you're going to blog, you don't do it here in your page tree. This information is just information that goes up on top of the blog index. So this is where that is. When you add your individual blog entries, you go to the blogging menu. So say you're on the home page, you want to blog, you go to the blogging menu, and this will take you to all of your blog posts. Or if you want to log directly into LawLytics and start a new blog post right away, just click New Blog Posts, and here you have it. If you're here managing your blog posts and you want to create a new blog post, simply click New. Give it a title, write your blog. The summary is what will appear in this index. So if you don't enter anything, LawLytics will automatically summarize it for you. If you attach a picture, it will appear here. And what I mean by that is if you choose this image here, it will fill it in. We recommend that either you give all your blog post images on the side or you give none of them images, because it looks funny if you have one that has an image and one doesn't. These images don't actually appear in the blog post, they're just for the index. And then within the blog post itself, you can add anything you want: maps, forms, images, videos, and so forth. The best ways to write blog posts are beyond the scope of this training, and so make sure you check out the LawLytics University and our other resources, and look for announcements for blogging clinics that we put on periodically as well on a live basis. When you have your social media accounts associated with your LawLytics account, there will be a place here, an option to announce it as well to social media. And then finally, with the commenting, it defaults to everybody turned on, which just means that if somebody goes to your blog post and they go to the bottom, they can leave a comment. It's typically good to encourage comments, and so we suggest leaving that open. If you get a comment that doesn't seem legitimate, so it doesn't make any sense, simply don't approve it. All of your comments will be in this tab right here, and if it's pending, it will have a pending. You can spam them, you can approve them, and they'll be published. Let's take a quick look at the leads area. We'll look at the form submissions, and the form submissions are basically anything that gets filled out on your website, whether it's through the built-in form on the sidebar, whether it's through the Contact Us form, or whatever, ends up in here. Just because a form was filled out doesn't mean that person is a lead. However, if that person is a lead, you can press the Promote to Lead button, and that will give you the option of filling in additional information about them if you don't have it. You can also give them a conversion probability. Now, we have attorneys who are getting dozens, if not 50 plus leads a day from their LawLytics powered website. And those clients tend to be lawyers who have really focused on their content infrastructure. So they have somewhere upwards of 500 pages that they've built, and they regularly contribute. When you have that kind of client flow going through your LawLytics web presence, it makes sense to start using this conversion probability, because then you can, as these people become leads, you can tell what kind of priority to give to them as you look at their details. You can also take notes about them. You can send them a capture email, which is beyond the scope of this training, and you can change their status. So if they become a client, you want to make sure that you get in there and convert them, or put them converted, which puts them in the won leads area, or lost, which shows that they didn't actually become a client. The capture template is, just to give you a brief nutshell, it's a way for you to send an email that will get somebody who called you into the LawLytics system, so that you can determine where they've been on your website, both in the past and where they go in the future. The reports area is where you can go to see how often your website is visited. This is devoid of data because this is a sample account. If you have more than one LawLytics website, you can switch which website you're looking at, and you can also hone in on the dates that you want to look at. And then you can see a bunch of different information. And we're not really going to see much here because this is a sample account. But you can also see live visitors. So this live visitor right now on this sample site it has been here for 36 minutes, which indicates to me that it's probably me doing this test. And if the location is known, where our location seems to be hidden here at this particular moment, it will show the location. And so if your receptionist is on the phone with somebody who calls, hasn't filled out a form, and says, hey, I'm on your website right now, and I'm interested, they can say, oh, great, well, you're in Chicago, right? Or where are you calling from? Chicago. Okay, this looks like Chicago, or maybe there's only one person on the site at the time. You can click Make It a Lead, and then you can put the person's information in there, and from there you'll be able to see all of the details of everywhere that person has been on your website. So you'll be able to determine what influenced them, and that's where you get more into the content and the lead analysis as you start using all of those features. And then finally, let's take a quick look at the LawLytics network. You can designate what areas of law you practice, and you do that through My Profile. And then you can add areas here. Just start typing them in or use the drop-down menu. And if you follow certain areas of practice, it will show you posts that have been posted by other attorneys on the LawLytics network. Let's say you want to interact with somebody or that has posted something, and you don't necessarily want to go to their website. So this is a post that is currently live on one of our customers' websites. You could go to that website and post a comment, for example, but in doing so, you would then have to put in your name, your email address, and have a bunch of hassle with it. With this LawLytics network, if you want to comment, all you have to do is go down to the bottom. Our system already knows who you are. When you leave a comment this way, assuming that they approve the comment, not only have you saved time, but your picture and a link to your profile on your LawLytics website will appear. And there are many advantages to doing this kind of cross-marketing when it's done in a thoughtful manner that adds to the conversation. Also a topic that we would cover in a future webinar that you might want to attend regarding either the LawLytics network or blogging and networking through your blog efficiently. And so the rest of this is beyond the scope of today's training. Again, I really want to impress upon you how important it is to us that you as a LawLytics customer engage us as often as you need. As you start going through the learning curve and you start experimenting with publishing on your LawLytics powered website, things get very easy very quickly, and you start seeing results typically very quickly. But rather than spend your time struggling to the extent that you don't know how to do something, just let us know, because we're here to help. And that goes for every aspect of LawLytics, from entering content to strategy to looking over pieces of your content to say, okay, is this good? Is this how I should be writing it? Anything else I should do differently with that? We really encourage you to take advantage of this service. It makes a big difference and can get you started off on the right track. I'm going to, at this point, open it up for some questions. I'm going to ask that if you have questions, you type them into the chat box at the bottom of your GoToWebinar panel. We've got about 5 to 10 minutes for questions, if we have any. And if you'd rather not have the questions addressed publicly, just feel free to call us at any time.